Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SDR Insider Insights from Top Performers. I am super excited today to be chatting with Kyle, who is actually a member of my project at Demand Drive. So we talk a good bit, and I thought this would be a really great conversation, and it would be just fun to have someone on who I honestly interact with a good bit as it is. So it'll be a really great conversation to chat. And we are talking all about rejection today in the sales world and how it can be redirection. And with that, I will give Kyle the floor so that he can introduce himself a little bit for anyone who might not know him. Just like a little bit about you, Kyle, where you're from and your backgrounds, whatever you want to throw in there.
Right on. Thank you, Maddie. Always a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Thank you.
And of course, thanks for having me on. But so I'm Kyle Schmider. So I'm a senior SDR here in Medrio. I've been here for just over a year and a half or so. And I am local to the Boston area. So come to the office from time to time, which is nice because there's far and few in between that do come in the office. But so Boston local. Before coming to Demand Drive, I had a complete 180 in industries. I was a heavy restaurant background. So haven't been in, corporate America per se, in tech and sales and whatnot, but, worked alongside people pretty much my whole life. And, always open to conversations with new people and, just enjoy people. So I thought, let's get into sales, and Demand Drive welcomed me in. So, I'm happy to be here, Maddie.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that your background was in restaurants because I had a short stint, I feel like, as a hostess. And I definitely liked it. But before that, I did retail too. And I always tell people that retail and working in the restaurant industry are really great ways to get your feet wet when it comes to sales and just talking to people in general, because those experiences, I think, definitely helped me and prepared me to go into a sales career.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to say, I think this is a pretty good topic of conversation just from both those industries and the restaurant itself too. But no, I think it's a great stepping stone into other opportunities from working with the general public in general. So,
and if you can handle some customers, regardless if it's in retail or restaurant industry, you can handle sales.
I would say so. Usually alcohol is not involved when you're having these conversations. So, conversations could be a little different.
Yes.
But no, Demand Drive has been, a really good transition for myself, and I've been really enjoying it.
No, you've been doing amazing. And I'll just kind of interject quickly just to say that it's been so cool to watch you grow on our team, because I feel like you started off strong and you've really grown, and now you're a senior SDR. And as someone who's been on the team, for a while now, it's just awesome to see, because I think our project in particular, I think it's definitely one where you sink or swim, and it's just great to see, you doing so great. I feel like I ask you for help with stuff, even as someone who's been on the project longer. So it's really cool to see. And that's definitely why I thought you'd be a good person for this conversation about rejection, redirection, because obviously with success also comes rejection. That's a huge part of this job. And I think that I would love to kind of just hear what has been the biggest learning curve, I would say, from, going from like the restaurant industry, that type of background, and then going into sales. I guess I would be interested to know from your perspective, what has been the biggest learning curve?
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing was emailing was a big thing for myself, and getting rejected via email was a different experience than what I was used to. And not that it's like, that different than any, phone rejection or in-person rejection. You're still getting rejected. But so either way, But I think for myself, since I, you know, wasn't at a job previously where it wasn't heavy emails or anything. So when I was typing out my emails or reading emails, I would like hyper focus. And I would spend way too long, rereading and retyping my emails to make sure like my wording's correct. Am I reading this correctly? Because you can't get the same tonality if you're like on a phone call or like body language or anything like that. So I think that was pretty difficult at first because I, got too in my head about how this person's responding at the other end of the screen or how they're going to perceive my email at the other end of the screen. So I think that was kind of a learning curve that luckily now I'm still kind of getting over that hump, but I definitely still spend maybe too much time rereading and retyping my emails. But yeah, I would say that was a decent learning curve for myself.
That's super interesting because I feel like a lot of SDRs, they don't struggle with the emails. It's the phone calls that's a little more scary. So would you say that the phones are your strong suit and you feel like that's really where you're able to shine?
I would say so, yes. And like a good phone conversation would lead to a good email, in my perspective, because like you already had the conversation with, the individual on the phone, so you can kind of get a gauge of how their responses were, like, their tonality in general. So the email I could find easier to type after that. But I would say phone is definitely a stronger suit for myself, just because I like to actually like talk to the human being,
Yeah, I agree. When I started the role too, I really liked, well, I didn't like it. I wouldn't say liked, but I thought that I would have more success on the phone because I now like it. I think I am good at talking to people and I'm able to, get responses that I need. But at
you
first,
couldn't be doing this if you couldn't talk to people, right?
Yeah, there we go. So, but yeah, I think it was definitely scary when I first started to, call up these people and not really know what they would say. And for me, that was the scariest part of the rejection. I was like, well, what if they answer? And that's still scary to me. I'm like, what if they like tell me to, get lost? What am I going to do? And I think it's kind of just getting over that fear because at the end of the day, it's not like you're talking to these people face to face. And the worst thing that happens is they hang up on you and then they hang up on you. And, the worst things can happen. So it is interesting hearing you say that because I think most people I talk to, it is usually the opposite. They usually prefer emails and then phones are something that they have to kind of work on. So that is interesting to hear. What helped you the most kind of grow as a writer and writing emails and just kind of getting over that fear of rejection in that sense?
Just keep doing it.
Yeah. Not psych yourself out.
You got to push through it. Having other people also review emails that get sent to you or reviewing your emails before you send them out is definitely kind of beneficial. Just quick reviews or seeing what other people are kind of writing as well, to try to pick up on, certain lingo or anything of that sort. I think that's helped. But yeah, I would say really just like keep doing it because it's like you're gonna mess up as well. Like there's definitely gonna be mistakes and stuff that maybe you shouldn't have, typed out or things you shouldn't have said or anything of that sort. But, as you said as well, it's just like, kind of on to the next and just like, it's okay,
Yeah, that's how you learn. You have to kind of fail to succeed.
you got to be repetitive and, sometimes it can be a little repetitive, but that's how you grow, I feel, and experimenting.
So. Yeah, for sure. And this kind of leads into my next question, but I feel like knowing that your background was in the restaurant industry, it kind of answers it for me. But was this job really your first interaction with rejection in the workplace and, having to reach out to people and getting those no's? Or do you feel like there were some past jobs that kind of like prepared you for that in a sense?
Yeah. I would say, so like before Demand Drive, I was a beverage director for a couple restaurants. So I I would coordinate and create cocktail menus. So it'd be beer, wine, cocktails, and there were a couple craft cocktail restaurants that I helped kind of grow. So seasonally, I would have to, you know, blood, sweat, and tears create a menu from like my thoughts and my testing and R&D and everything. And I would have to present them to, I mean, not only the owner and, you know, the managers, everything like that, but all the staff. So there was definitely, you know, as I'm creating these drinks and everything, everyone's testing them. So there'll be some times where people are like, what are you putting in front of me and why is this like good? So getting denied on certain, you know, beverages that I really thought were like, you know, I think this is super good. And then other people are like, this is not good. I'll
Practice, at least in that sense of in a workplace setting. Yeah.
Exactly. So getting the feeling of being like, no, this is not going to go on the menu. And I was just like, bummer. Okay. Back to, you know, trying it out again and, you know, go back to the drawing board and see, you know, what works and, you know, what doesn't. And that's the whole idea, I think, you know, behind rejection is like, you know, stuff, how to overcome rejection, like how you approach it. Some of it's not going to work and you just have to like go back and like learn from getting rejected personally and just be like, okay, what can I fix to make this, you know, go on the menu or make this person, you know, say yes to a meeting or anything of that sort. So I think, you know, coming from my previous role, there was definitely where, you know, all blood, sweat, and tears went into this menu, and then people are like, "This is disgusting." So you know,
Yeah.
I think it definitely helped.
Yeah. And it kind of shows you too that regardless of where you end up, whether it be sales or another industry or, you know, back in the restaurant industry, you always are facing rejection at a professional level. It's just different in sales because people can hang up the phone on you or send you a nasty email and tell you to unsubscribe, even though, you know, it is an automated email. So I think that is a good lesson. And I think being in this role and in sales, it really does, you know, create thick skin in a way because you're able to know how to handle rejection and kind of spin it. And that's partly why I wanted to have you chat about this topic, because I feel like in general, from what I know of you, and I feel like our team knows of you, you're a very positive person. So I would love to like just hear how you kind of spin negativity to positivity when it comes to the SDR role. You know, it could be rejection when people hang up on you, or it could be something different. But maybe if someone is just struggling with that, you know, they keep getting no's and, you know, there's not a lot of yeses. How do you kind of spin that to make it a positive for yourself? I think would be good advice to hear.
I appreciate you saying that, Maddie.
No, it's true.
Yeah, no, I think how are you gonna succeed at anything if you're negative all the time? First of all, I think you got to stay positive and at just, you know, in from, you know, a professional standing to also just, you know, your own well-being. Try to be as positive as possible and try to uplift, you know, other people on your team and just individuals in general, because negativity can just put a lot more weight on yourself and more pressure than what is needed. But I guess the way I think about it would be in a sense that, you know, if somebody hangs up on you per se, you're like, well, this person sucks or, you know, whatever, but you know, can either take a break, you know, walk around your house or the office or anything like that, and then just go right back to it and kind of like almost learn to forget as well. And it's just like, you know, that the other person at the end of this phone, I'm probably never, you know, going to actually see again or talk to again per se. So to just be positive that, you know, maybe the next person that picks up the phone or reads that email or responds, it's going to be different. So just keep on, you know, pushing with a positive mindset, that somebody at the end of the line is going to be a better person than the last person you talk to. Because there's plenty of fish in the sea, you know? So, Yeah, I would say that. Um, yeah, negativity. There's no room for negativity in
Yeah.
this field, I would say.
I think you have to have the mindset that all rejection in sales is really just redirection, which is going to be the title of this episode. And I think whenever someone hangs up on me or is rude or whatever it might be, or maybe they're nice, but it's just not the right contact, I think it just shows me, okay, maybe I need to rethink like how I'm going about this for this specific company and, trying to break into this company and get to the right prospect. And so I think just using that mindset too can be helpful of just not just looking at it as a no, but as a not the right person. How can I find the right person from there? And I think we all have had experiences where, you end up calling one person and then, it's an awful experience, but then you try someone else and you get the meeting. So I think it's all about just seeing it as not rejection, but redirection. And I'm sure like there's people listening who maybe have just started their sales career, or maybe they're looking to further their sales career, whatever it might be, or maybe they're hitting a lull. And I think it would be really great to hear just some like tricks, tips, tactics, anything that you could share that's maybe more tangible. Maybe it's a routine in the day, or something that you do when you're kind of keep getting a lot of no's and you want to kind of redirect things. What do you do personally that can sometimes help that process?
Um, yeah, no, that's a great question, because it definitely, I mean, as you know, this field, there could definitely be, ebbs and flows in general, ups and downs. And when you're in like a low period of, your connection rate is low, you're not getting a lot of yeses and things aren't really moving, you really, get hard on yourself. You're like, why isn't anything moving? And, and kind of bringing it back, it's like, you just got to keep on pushing. You really have to just bring it back again, like stay positive and just keep on pushing. And I think what helps me a lot is, I got a couple cats, so like they're always like, if you got,
they're always
like,
in the background somewhere.
Yeah, so it's like I need a little mental break. I'm just like, I'm gonna go spush my head against my cat and just like, little mental break, walk around, get outside. Get outside is definitely a huge thing. Soak up some sun just for a little bit, sit on your steps or something, just like breathe some fresh air. I think that's very beneficial. Sometimes talking to other, SDRs or your managers as well can be very beneficial, and just trying to, see, because you're never the only one going through these low periods as well, and these like slower periods.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's always, I was going to say, it always gets better, is my, my thought as well. Like, it's not going to be like this for forever. It's like, there will be a period where you're going to be on top of the world again. But,
And I think sometimes that redirection can be good, just to mix things up a little bit. Like how you said, get outside, change things up, whatever it might be, maybe your surroundings. I think sometimes just mixing things up and getting a new perspective, whether that be talking to your managers or your fellow teammates, I think that can really help you just see a different perspective. Because sometimes, I feel like you and I relate to this, where sometimes you kind of just get in the zone of doing the same thing, hitting the same contacts, trying the same, titles, whatever it might be. And I think sometimes you're like, I'm doing the right things. Why isn't it working out? But sometimes you just have to go back to the drawing board and really think about, okay, well, what are the things I'm doing and what could I be doing different, maybe just to mix it up?
No, completely right. And that kind of where it comes into experimentation in general. It's just like, you gotta try different things because you don't know what's going to work. And, this job is kind of ever changing with messaging and how to approach the job itself. It's not just black and white, which like you can get pretty creative with it. So you can make it, more exciting and more fun for yourself to be doing it because you can kind of mess around, maybe not do it to like a top target of yours, but like, some other targets you can kind of just like, play around with messaging and, even with phone calls and stuff like that, play around with the phone calls. If somebody answers the phone, one of the things I did when I first started was, as we're cold calling, just be like, as soon as somebody answers, be like, hey, this is Kyle with blah, blah, blah. You just won yourself a cold call. Do you have, 30 seconds to see if it's relevant for you? And that was kind of a big hit for a little bit.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You get some chuckles here and there. Some people that are like, all right, that was good. So yeah, no, you can play around, experiment, kind of gets you out of a funk if you're in one,
Yeah. And I think it's, just remembering to like, we're talking to humans on the other end of the phone or the email. And I think that's part of it too with redirection. I think, even if someone specifically isn't the right target for you to be talking to, if they are a person who, you have live on the phone, it's worth it sometimes to even just ask and to see if maybe they have someone in mind. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sometimes they can't share that information, but it's always worth it to try because then that kind of gets you to that next step of, finding at least someone who might be a better contact. So just remembering that you're talking to people too, I think is important.
Or, we're all human beings at the end of the day trying to, get by and progress. And, I think about that all the time. What you just said, pretty much, it's another human being at the end of the day. So, unless if you're a robot talking to some AI, which I mean is pretty common now, but
yeah. No, I think it's such an important thing to remember. Okay, all right. I'll go back to another question. So I would love to hear, I love asking different stories that people have when they come on the podcast, just to hear about experiences they have. And so for this topic in particular with rejection, is there any experience you've had in the past year and a half that really stands out to you as something that was a learning experience? Maybe it was really bad, really good, really funny, crazy, somewhere in between. But maybe just that one story that you go back to a lot because it really, showed you a lot about the role.
Yeah. It's probably a couple. I know when I first started, one of the projects that I was on, it was a newer project. So still try to, get the bearings of, what we did, in general and our, the targets that we were going after. And I called this guy and I was probably only calling for a month at this point. And this person answered and was definitely very upset that, I was calling him and, was saying, stuff along the lines of like, you don't even know, what our company does, kind of like definitely releasing some anger that he probably had before the call even occurred. And just was like, hey, some random person, I'm gonna go off on this guy. But yeah, just pretty much like saying like, you don't even know what we do. Your stuff won't even like, help us sell, yada, yada. And then hung up, as, probably expected. And, so that definitely, made me think more like, all right, I should definitely be doing some more research into these accounts that, I'm, targeting, because, I never wanted that to happen again. So I was like, if somebody, I'm always like ready now, just like, I want this person to be like, you don't even know what we do. And I'll be like, actually I do, to say, that I do have an understanding of, what our service was and how, we can benefit, the people that we're kind of targeting. So that definitely, helped me do my research and look more into the companies that we are, prospecting into. So that was definitely when I first started. Another one
great
for
story.
I was like scarred.
Yeah, I like that story because I think it literally happens to every single salesperson, like that exact scenario. And if someone says that hasn't happened to them, they're lying. So it really just is a situation where you're like, I never want this to happen again. So I'm gonna make sure it doesn't. And then you don't. So it hurts, it stings in the moment, but then you're more prepared for the next call and the next call.
It's kind of, yeah, you learn from your mistakes, you're like, okay, what can I do differently that would kind of de-escalate that situation, and you learn from it, and
Yeah.
you just grow as a better SDR.
And I think also like it's okay to make mistakes. I think sometimes, we get really hard on ourselves, and if something doesn't go the way, a conversation doesn't go the way we thought it would, or we get a negative response to an email that we, really wanted a positive response to, maybe it was like a top target or something. I think that you have to give yourself some grace sometimes and remember that we all, are just trying our best and trying to figure out the best people to talk to. And I think every single SDR, senior or not senior, has gone through that. And so I think it's good to hear people talk about it and just say, hey, this has happened to me, but I learned from it. And so that's the takeaway. It's like, you can make mistakes, just make sure you learn from it and you don't let it happen again.
And exactly what you said, it's like, I mean, even the people that you're calling, if they're, C-suite or VPs and stuff like that, it's like, they're also like, trying to figure their own stuff out as well, like their own job. So it's just having that in your head as well, being like, we're all just trying to, figure out what we're trying to do. They're going to make mistakes. We make mistakes. And that's part of, life in general,
No, it's a good lesson for not just sales, but also life. And so, I mean, if you think about it, rejection is a huge part of life, regardless of if it's in your professional career or not. I mean, that is just how it goes. And so the sooner you kind of take those experiences and shift them from negatives to positives, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I think you're able to just, have more tenacity and get through situations better than you were previously. So that's all we can do.
Absolutely. And stay positive.
Yeah. No, I think that's one of my, main takeaways, I think, for sure, from chatting with you. And I think everyone else will see that too. I think it shows, as someone who is a senior SDR, was just in President's Club, has been doing great. Like I said it before, but I'll say it again. Like, it's been great to see you grow. And I also think that it's sink or swim in a lot of these situations. And I think it's good to hear from someone who, is doing really great and is always on the, leaderboard and all that stuff, just to hear maybe if it's someone who's a newer SDR or whatever it might be, that everyone goes through the same highs and lows, and it really is just a part of the job. But at the end of the day, if you let those experiences teach you something, it can be a positive.
Well, I appreciate it. I think I came on to a great team and some role models on the team like yourself, so, there's some shoes to fill that, and some people to, keep up with. And I was like,
you've been doing great, and it's really awesome to see. And everyone, I think, who will be watching this from the office knows that you've been doing great. So I think it'll really resonate with people that, we're all just trying our best. And, it takes some rejection sometimes to redirect and figure out what works for you. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate the conversation, and I know that everyone's really going to like it. Is there any final thoughts that you have, or anything that you want people to make sure they take away?
I'd say the biggest thing is, kind of to recap this conversation, we're all human at the end of the day. We're gonna make mistakes. The other people that you're emailing or talking on the phone to, they're gonna make mistakes. And to strive to be as positive as you can be. because it's hard to progress if you're too busy being negative about everything. I mean,
Yeah. No, I think that's
plain it simple.
no, yeah. No, I think we'll really appreciate hearing that. And like I said, you've been doing great. So I think it'll show everyone at our company and beyond that, we all have our highs and lows, but at the end of the day, you can take those lows and bring it into a redirection of some positivity. So I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you, Maddie. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys. And we appreciate you for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.